Gettysburg. The day of the dedication dawned bright and clear. Lincoln toured the battlefield, and then he joined the dignitaries as they made their way to the small platform where the ceremony would take place. Except for his white gauntlets, he was dressed entirely in black. His top hat still bore the mourning band for Willie. Gettysburg, too, was dressed in mourning, its flags at half-staff. The platform, which was 12 by 20 feet, was crowded with speakers and the press and special guests. Among them was Captain Nickerson from the 8th Ohio Volunteer Infantry. He was still recovering from his wounds. There was music, a long invocation. And then the main speaker of the day, Edward Everett, delivered his anticipated 2-hour speech, delivered without notes, in his dramatic style. There was a hymn, and then Lincoln stood. Nickerson said, "To say that Lincoln arose can only be appreciated by those who were close to him at the time. And yet I had never seen him as tall as he was on this occasion." Lincoln spoke in a high-pitched voice that he had trained to go to the edge of the crowd. He spoke like a prophet or his biblical namesake. 77 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate. We cannot consecrate. We cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here, have consecrated it far above our poor powers to add or detract. The world will little note, nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living, rather to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead, we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion, that we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth.